pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the County Board.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
All right, approval of County Board minutes.
So move.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second. Further discussion. Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any additions or deletions to the agenda this morning, Nicole?
Public Works has been removed, excuse me.
All right, no public works. All right, gentlemen?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion on the agenda. Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have Live Better and Live Longer. Some representatives, come on up, please. Good morning. Would you let the board know who you are and
Morning.
why you're here?
So I'm Kate Bjorgi, Director of Live Better, Live Longer, and happy to be here this morning.
My name is Mary Kenna, and I'm Program Coordinator with Live Better, Live Longer.
My name is Dr. Ben Grams. I am the chair of Live Better, Live Longer.
Welcome all.
So what we're here today is to, two things for us, just to thank you guys and your support of our organization, but also to give you what's up and coming and what we've been doing moving forward as well. As I was just kind of thinking about what I should talk about today, I think the big standing point that Live Better, Live Longer comes from is this. I once read a quote that said, if you want to change the country, you have to change the state. If you want to change the states, you have to change the counties. If you want to change the county, you have to change the communities. If you want to change the community, you got to change the neighborhood. If you want to change the neighborhoods, you got to change the family. And if you want to change the families, you have to change the individuals. And as a foundation, that's what Live Better, Live Longer believes. We believe in the potential that our community and the individuals in our community has to live better and live longer. And we do this by three means. Number one is getting people healthier foods, better access to healthier foods, getting them to eat better. Number two is getting them to move better. And number three is just getting better social connectedness. I got a quote by Mark Twain, and I just think he's a clever writer, and this is what he wrote. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, to drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. And I just thought, why is that? Why is it that our norm? And this is what we know. I can tell you this from studying the human body and reading research for about 12 years now, is that our health habits, our health decisions are all based and we get from our environment. And that's what we're looking to change. That's what we're wanting to affect, is what our environment is and what we do with that. What if our norm was this? What if it was normal for everyone to exercise 30 minutes every day, no excuses? Obesity would be eradicated. In fact, I had the privilege of listening to a world-renowned doctor on preventative medicine who had an interview with the leading cancer scientist in the nation. And this cancer scientist said that if every human being or every American consumed 5,000 IUs of vitamin D per day, within 1 year, all cancer deaths would be eradicated by 76%. Just by that simple move. What if it was the norm, instead of when someone's depressed reaching for their phone to call a friend versus reaching to a bottle or a pipe? That is our driving and motivating factor in what we do. And your guys this is what I know, is that you guys make a lot of decisions about a lot of things that affect a lot of people, and that has to have a lot of weight that comes with it. But just know that your decision to support us is a good decision. We are actually saving lives. Within just a couple of examples, within our circle of influence, we have one person who's lost so much weight because of a couple of things that we've put together that they've actually been undiagnosed of diabetes type 2. Okay, that's a game changer for that person. We have other people who have made lifestyle changes that have affected their heart health so much that no longer do they need cholesterol-lowering medications or blood pressure-lowering medications to keep their heart healthy. Those are fundamental changes starting with the individual, which can't help but spread to the community and even more so from there. So, number one, thank you guys for your support of our organization. Just know that the money that you do give to us has tremendous stewardship behind it. Every dollar is moving toward the mission, and if anybody who knows Mary and Kate knows that that's exactly what it's all about. So, thank you. Okay. I'm going to zip the lip and they're going to move on.
And we had the privilege of meeting with you in August and highlighting some of the work that we're doing. So we want to just give you updates from then and really want to spend a little bit more time talking about the Eat Smart program. But I didn't have the privilege of showing you some of the pictures of some of the work that we're doing. And so thank you for the use of your iPad today. Open streets, play streets. I had talked to you a little bit about Falls Festival on Foot. Where we're at with that particular MOVE project is October 3rd. We partnered with the zoo and we had our Open Streets event on the west side, Falls Festival on Foot, featuring live music with local vendors or local musicians. We had a local business owner come out onto the street, and I don't know why it looks quite like that, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
There, you know,
This
people
type of
could just,
presentation, iPads don't work
Yeah,
always
okay.
well together.
that moving. So they're doing some, you know, just jump in and try Zumba. Jump in and do something to move your body and do it in a way that has fun, no matter, you know, if you're super fit or not. So that was a lot of fun. The bike surreys, you can kind of see that, were used constantly all day long up and down the street. And then here's just a few other photos of things that were happening that day. It's a great opportunity not only to shut down the street so that people can come out and play and, you know, be fit and active together, but also to engage local business owners. So you can see that hula hoop contest up there. Casey's General Store on the west side just completely took hold of that event. They had hula hoop contests going on all day long. They provided prizes. They were selling food out on the street during that time. So there were a couple businesses that really got behind this. And that's a big part of these Open Streets events, is featuring and supporting our local businesses. And then also engaging people to volunteer and serve. We had a lot of volunteers out there busy that day helping with the 1 mile run that we made available for people. You can see that there's a group of soccer players that were out. In addition to doing their training run, they were working at a booth that was helping convert people into animals with the whole Zoo Fest theme. So a lot going on, but what we wanted to show you is that there's some great opportunities that we recognize to partner with area events that are already happening and to see how we can bring value to those events. And so we're having conversations with the Dam Fest folks about taking the best of that event, which we believe and they believe is the parade, and shutting down the streets so that at the end of the parade, it's a play streets event and people can stay out there and play and engage in, you know, basketball on the street or ride bike surreys or learn about bikes, whatever. Additionally, we are in conversation about how we might be able to help just bring some energy to the Platte River Day in Royalton. And I know that those folks were interested in, you know, possibly bringing the Gaga Ball Pit out to that already great event and helping get people a little bit more active and connecting and making healthy choices together. And we are partnering again with Zoo Fest, so you'll see us out there at their event next October, again with the Gaga Pit and possibly other activities that just get people moving. So I mentioned Gaga Ball, and I know I talked to you about that a little bit in August, but just thought you might be interested in seeing that list of just how that great idea that came from a conversation that Ben and I had with an area superintendent from Swanville turned into you know, let's just try this at your school. Other folks heard about it. It's been at school to school, event to event, and we're at the point now where we really need to build more Gaga pits that can withstand the abuse, really, because you know, you can't get the kids out of them, as you can see from some of these pictures. So brought it to National Night Out, brought it to the Rock and Run. I mentioned a number of schools have tried it and love it. So I won't spend time on the Rock and Run. You know, it's happening again. It's our 8th annual. The one thing that we're adding this year is instead of the 3K race being strictly for kids, we've heard that parents have told us, you know, I would love to be able to run that race with my kid. And so we are hearing people say that's a great distance, especially for people to try who've never done a road race. So we're opening that up to any one of you that wants to come out and run or walk the 3K with a young one or just with your family, with just yourself.
She said any one of you.
Any
Did
one.
you hear that?
And the reason you patted me on the back?
Should we sign you up? You can sign up today. It's live online. So
He's just encouraging you.
you can even get your face painted. You know, we've got all kinds of great fun out there at the Rock.
That he can handle.
It's getting better, yeah.
Or you can run
You
with
could
a
paint me a
mask
tie
on.
on, Randy.
No, too much information.
So just a few fun pictures for you to see of that great event and just how the Rock and Run has changed over the years. The first year we had it, it was 77 runners out at Camp Ripley. And, last year we had 415 runners out there, and many of them, about 150 of them, were kids. So just really, I think, positioned it as a great family event and really targeting our young people. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mary to talk about just a program that we're super excited about.
You may recall in August, we talked a little bit about Eat Smart and that we received a grant from CHI, Catholic Health Initiatives, to support our work with Eat Smart. Live Better, Live Longer, we have three components: eat, move, and belong, and so this is really focusing on the eat piece. The picture up there is the high school kids helping us clean out the garden over at Gamrot Park on the west side. That's one component of it, is really the community gardening piece. But more importantly, I think at this point, what we're working on and hoping to go live January 1 is having healthcare providers refer families or individuals to the Eat Smart program. And that means they'll receive a free half CSA, Community Shared Agriculture, from the Food Hub, the one that's over in the Crestliner building. So it's been a great work in progress, I guess, since this summer. We've have a task force that includes 7 of our providers, including Piers and Randall. There are champion providers, if you will, to really look at who of their patients, and many of them say, I already have a list of who I might refer. And so we're modeling that off of Lakewood's Choose Health program, and those individuals will be asked, actually it's all well child checks and then OB visits. When they do that intake, when you go into the clinic, about, the questions they ask, if you feel safe in your home and so forth, there's been 2 questions added about food insecurity. So if that individual answers yes to either of those questions, whether they have enough money for food or if they've run out of food, then that will go to a queue and that will come to us, and we'll follow up to see if they're interested in participating in that program and able to fulfill that commitment to being involved. Because once that happens, the clinic has agreed to do that baseline health information, blood pressure, weight, some of those basic things. So we have a pre-screening, and then I will meet with those individuals one-on-one. Excuse me. And again, with Lakewood, they had to refer over 300 people to get 50 people to commit to that program. Because it is a commitment of picking that CSA up every other week, doing some education classes. Again, the goal at the Food Hub is that they have that on-site demonstration kitchen. So if they come and pick up their food, maybe they get some kale or zucchini or something they're not sure what to use, there'll be some educators right on site there to help them with that food and eating a little healthier. And then being involved with the gardening is another goal of that. Hopefully, once they've been through this, we also have a garden on the east side of Spectrum. There's a huge lot that they have agreed to be community gardens. So whether it's an individual who wants a smaller space, again, getting them to learn more about eating healthier, and that's not that difficult, and how to be involved with that. Another piece has been employee wellness. We're going to really encourage some of our larger employers to get involved with that, picking up, supporting their employees on purchasing the CSAs, maybe giving them a discount with that, again, encouraging them to eat healthier. And then the last piece is related to the healthy concessions model. We have established a team at the high school led by 2 DECA students that are looking at what they offer now in their concessions, and then they'll be surveying the students, surveying people at the games that are coming to use the concessions, and coming up with some options, some healthier alternatives, whether it's wraps or sandwiches or fruit, those kinds of things. And then working with the food service director to provide those at a decent cost. So that model we're hoping will be able to be utilized throughout the county if those schools are interested. Because when Kate and Ben met with the administration, was that a year ago? that there was definitely was an interest in that piece and getting support for that. So here's a few more pictures of the gardens. We had community volunteers helping with that over the summer. We also gave a lot of the produce to Oasis, their share meal program. So that's kind of the Eat Smart in a really quick nutshell.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Jelinski.
I've got several comments. First one goes to the good doctor here. I cannot think of a better person to be a chair for Live Better, Live Longer that is an advocate like you. Honest to goodness,
We
there's
agree.
all kinds of people out there that can be a chair of anything, even Commissioner Muller.
Thank you.
Anybody can be a chair, I got it. But I have to be honest with you, to be a chair and to be an advocate of what you're representing, it's second to none. And I have to be honest, I very much appreciate that.
I appreciate that very much.
Make a little comment on the Rock and Run, just a little one.
Yeah.
I think it's a phenomenal program, absolutely phenomenal program. Make a little teeny bit of a comment on the food hub. I was there on Saturday
Oh, yeah.
and witnessed it. Quite honestly, I think it's a very cool coming together piece of project. My concern is that we continue to strive to make sure that we serve all income levels. Hard thing, I got it, I understand that, but I truly hope that there's a way that we are able to serve all income levels at the food hub. When we start getting the kitchen put together, and I realize it's piecemeal, one step at a time, and oftentimes baby steps, which I'm okay with, but that we're able to invite everyone, and that we're somehow or another able to keep down costs to, in fact, invite everyone. I was up at the high school in Little Falls yesterday and witnessed firsthand, I think it's called Second Chance, but maybe I'm wrong.
The breakfast
The
where they come
breakfast?
and pick it up, bro.
And was told that there's like 400 kids daily that participate in this. And not that that has anything to do with Live Better, Live Longer, please don't, I'm not trying to confuse anyone. What a project
Right.
for the youth in where we live. That's all I've got. Thank you very, very kindly for everything that you folks do.
I would just like to thank you for all you do, all the different things you do to,
If I can just address the piece
You
about,
may.
sorry,
go
serving,
ahead.
serving all levels of people, I think that is always on our docket. And so
Good.
I know one of our key partners with Eat Smart is Extension and then the diabetes educators on campus. And so with Extension, in their education piece, they have to serve, I think, half of their people. So that, we're very aware of that, but we appreciate that comment. That is really something that, it's difficult to do, but we're always aware about that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Other comments, gentlemen?
Thank you very much. Good program.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
Very good.
And I would like to make a couple of comments with my background in nursing and counseling and having worked with people and youth in our community for many years. You know, the impact that you are having and these programs are having on our young people and how, you know, who better to teach our parents than our children? And I hate to say it that way because really, it really needs to be the other way around. But in reality, it really starts, and a lot of the children bring this stuff home and question their parents about, well, what's this? And we learn that. And I mean, and my children educated me in so many ways, you know. So, no, it's all such good stuff. And having been a participant in the Rock and Run for many years, this year I was actually shortly after my half marathon, and I just couldn't do it. But anyways, such a good program that brings community together and creates networks and connections. So, I mean, these programs, and along with the Boys and Girls Club, and that would be a question I have. What do you do, or what connections are you making, if any, with the Boys and Girls Club and incorporating those programs with what you all offer and where this is headed? I'm just
Yeah.
curious. Is there?
Absolutely. With all of our programs and events, we are in conversation with the Boys and Girls Club and I mean, just always inviting them to participate with us. In fact, they were a big reason why we located the Falls Festival on Foot where we did, because we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club and the Farmers Market that was happening, and the Boys and Girls Club were gonna come out and do a whole volleyball, kind of a game right there out in front. And something came up last minute, and so they weren't able to staff it. But we're extremely supportive. They let us house the Surreys in and out of their facility, and just, you know, I think they're a very key relationship in all that we're doing, so.
Very good, very good. All right, well, thank you for all you do, and I
Thank
know I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for your
So,
support.
Have a good Christmas.
Yes,
Merry
you too.
Christmas.
Worked better this time anyway.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Greg is here, Morrison County Airport. Come on up, Greg.
Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
How are you guys?
Good.
Phenomenal, thank you.
Well, I just wanted to talk with you guys this morning in regards to a new fuel card reader out at the airport. Over the years, we've had some issues with that one. It's broken down, and so we've had to repair it. Unfortunately, that particular model, the company that runs or that owned or made that, manufactured that card reader, actually went out of business in 2008. And in 2012 is when they stopped supplying any sort of technical support. So if anything would go down, we don't have anyone necessarily to call and figure out what it is that would be causing that issue. So since then, we really haven't had anyone to help us through fixing that problem. So we went out for quotes to see what it would take to actually repair that or replace that card reader so we can continue to sell fuel to airplane pilots and such. And we received 3 quotes. The lowest was from O'Day Equipment in the amount of $23,779. And then we would also need the electrical component of it as well to make sure that it's energized. And that was from Central Minnesota Electric in the amount of $2,945. There is a 60-40 grant split on that, so that, you know, the state would pick up 60% and the local share would be 40%, which is split 50-50 between the city and the county. The city did approve that purchase, and this morning we're looking for the council or the board's approval as well.
Mr. Chair, Greg,
Yes.
that would be paid out of the fund balance that's sitting there right now.
That's correct, yep.
So it's already out there, and gentlemen, being on the airport commission, we did talk about this, and we have been fixing it with spare parts that we've been getting. Now they're getting more and more hard to find. Fuel sales are a big part of what continues to keep the airport going, and,
Correct.
you know, so,
Mr. Chair, if we don't get it, I guess you don't get to pump fuel then, right?
If it breaks down, then we don't get to pump fuel.
So I'd make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second, further discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Jelinski.
Greg, can you tell me how many gallons of fuel, about rough numbers, just a rough number, that we sell?
He's thinking.
I'm thinking,
Rough number.
I want to say it was about 15,000 gallons is what we sell.
At about,
$3.50 a gallon.
and we actually make a nickel or something, or a penny?
We usually make about 10% on average
Okay.
profit, yeah.
Whatever. And the flip side would be is that we would have to have somebody manning the gas pump, if you will, in order to sell.
Well, we don't have anybody out there 24/7, but if,
Exactly, but in
Correct.
theory, we'd have to have somebody manning the gas pump
yep,
in order to sell. Similar to a Casey's or anywhere else that pumps gas.
true,
Very good, thank you.
yep.
Other questions, comments, gentlemen?
Well, without this, there's probably some people that wouldn't stop by flying in because they couldn't get fuel.
Correct.
So,
All right. I have a motion and a second, further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Stop by anytime.
I will.
All right, social services report. Morning, Brad.
Good morning,
Morning,
Brad.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I have a guest here that I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Tammy Rainier. I'm the Program Director of Employment Enterprises.
Morning, Tammy.
So we are here today because Employment Enterprises needs to change their license from the clothes hanger, which was downtown, and they have are about to enter a lease with a building out next to Pizza Ranch and created what's called Enterprise Market. I believe it opened in July. And so as a result of that, the the clients they serve are going to be now served at Enterprise Market versus the clothes hanger. So this is really a store that will allow the disabled to work regular shifts. So maybe you want to explain a little bit more about the services you'll be providing at Enterprise Market.
Sure. Right now, since we moved to the other building, we are serving about 15 to 17 individuals per day on 2 different shifts. We have 2 crews that go down from 8:30 until 2, and then we have another group that comes in from 2 until 7. So we're extending our work hours. The individuals there help with stocking the shelves, pricing, customer service, learning to run the cash register. So it's really been able to expand what the services that we can do for them. The public seems to be accepting it pretty well, and we're getting a lot of traffic, and it's fun to see the interactions that the public is having with our workers. So,
And if you haven't been out there, it's a very nice building. It's clean, it's bright. They have a lot of products from Cherry Grove Market over by Browerville. And so it's something different every week that their products they're bringing in. So as a result, we needed to do this application for need determination, and it has to be approved by the county board to change the license as well as increase the license capacity for the site.
Gentlemen?
Mr.
Do I
Chair,
have a motion? Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
Tammy or Brad, can you or let everybody know exactly where this is located?
sure, it's right next to Pizza Ranch. Right.
So you've got ample parking,
Ample parking.
all
it's
one level,
wonderful.
just
Yep.
waltz right in.
Yep.
And what all is for merchandise inside of this building?
We started out with truckload sales that would have, depending upon the stores we would get it from, we had appliances, we had stuff from Kmart, stools, lamps, but we found that there was a lot of broken product. There wasn't a lot of consumer involvement with that product. So we are now working with, actually it's Dutch Valley, the Cherry Grove connection that we had. And we're getting food from a vendor in St. Paul that is, we can purchase more in bulk and then repackage and distribute. So
you've got food,
food, yeah.
and you also have merchandise besides, or
We're
no?
moving away from the merchandise
So
because,
what you're moving towards is a convenience grocery type of a
Right.
store.
lower cost.
Yep.
Health related as
Yeah,
well.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what the movement is too. You're not gonna have lamps and cups and coffee
No, we're
makers.
getting rid of
You're
that
going to have
stuff.
food.
Yep,
Send
yep.
all
Well,
to the
very
Boys and
good.
Girls Club.
Yep, very good.
Mr. Chair, I'd so move on that.
All right, I have a motion.
I'll second it.
And a second, further discussion, gentlemen.
And if I may have missed it,
Commissioner
Mr.
Winter.
Chair, what hours and days are you open?
We're open 7 days.
Okay.
The consumers are there Monday through Friday, and those hours, store hours are 9 to 7. And then on the weekends, they're a little bit less, 9 to 5,
Okay.
11 to 4 on Sundays.
Thank you.
They've seemed to notice that when Pizza Ranch is busy, they get
We're
kind of busy,
busy.
so.
That's outstanding.
A really good location.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Pizza Ranch and with the parts store there
Yeah.
and stuff. I've been in there several times. A lot of good stuff. And
Yep.
actually, we drive over to Browerville quite a bit to the Cherry Grove to get stuff. So it saves me a heck of a jaunt over there, even from Cushing. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff. So,
Yep.
Yep. All right. Further discussion?
I just think it's great that you give people the opportunity to work.
Yes.
You know, that does a lot for people, just being able to work
Yep.
and
Yep,
feel self-worth and stuff like that. So
yep.
Very good.
I'm very supportive of that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have this morning.
Thank you.
Have a good Christmas.
Thank you.
See you later. Public Health Report. Good morning, Louise.
Good morning.
Good morning, Louise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a request to approve the appointment of Jennifer Hove, registered nurse, health coordinator, of Tri-County Community Action, to be an ex officio member of the Public Health Advisory Committee. This would fill the registered nurse position on our committee.
Gentlemen,
So moved.
So, yeah, second.
motion and second. Further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank
Motion
you.
carries.
And then I have a request to approve the 2015 new establishment owner licenses. One is for the American Inn Motel, which is located in District 3, for a cost of $341.25. And the other one is the Piers Mobile Home Park, located in District 4, for $63.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion on both the American Motel and the Piers Mobile Home Park.
And I will second that.
A motion and a second, further discussion. Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
And that's all I have for
Very
you
good,
today.
Louise.
Thank you very much.
Very
Have a
kindly.
good Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Extension report.
I'm here again.
Yes, you don't look like Becky.
Unbelievable.
Becky went Christmas shopping
Two
today,
times in
so-
short order we get to see
I
you.
know, there was a kind of a fumble in the schedule
Not at
earlier
all.
this
This is good,
year.
so.
Well, I'm glad to see you guys.
And we're glad to see you.
And I'm glad to be here with the luncheon today. What a
There we
bonus
go.
to work in this
Isn't that good?
office. So extension, although weather has been, I mean, I saw Dan, he's still doing some cover crop study stuff. And you're like, well, on a normal year, you probably wouldn't be able to do that, but go for it, Dan. So from my end, you saw that I was really busy doing LPAT. So I do licensed pesticide applicator trading. I'm involved with that with, I don't know, there must be about 8 of us on the team. We travel throughout the state. And we don't have a location here in Little Falls, but we do St. Cloud and Brainerd, and I see familiar faces at both locations. I saw some people from the golf course here in Little Falls at them again, so nice to see them. It's a good way for us to make sure that people are, well, they do that versus taking the test when they need to recertify, and we feel it's beneficial because they are getting like education and they can ask questions to the MDA and to us of any concerns that they have. The other thing I've been working on in the last month is a needs assessment survey. So we kind of had an absence in extension. And so I worked with the Associate Dean, Mike Schmidt, and he's an enthusiast about these surveys and such. So a few weeks back, I had a nice conversation with him and a new individual in extension, Regina McGough, and they really helped me out. I had a draft put together and they gave me some input. So now it's figuring out who to send it to and how to get those lists. I know Dan and Emily are very fortunate that, you know, the Crop Association or the Dairy Association, they just like, hey, you want our list? Sure. And then there it is. But it doesn't work that way for us. So we've been doing a little more digging, and we've worked with Minnesota Grown to do some digging. And then Thursday this week, I have a meeting with Arlene Jones through Sprout, and so I'm hoping to distribute it through her vendors as well. And that'll just give us an idea of what do they want to hear about? What do they need help with, and how can Extension help them? So in the meantime, I'd love, if you guys have people that you would know or think, hey, they might not be on a list, but they would probably love to give their input because they down the line would like to have some Extension help with local foods, just send me an email or something. Besides that, yeah, we moved the St. Cloud office, the Stearns County office last week, so I feel like I don't know what's up, anymore, because you packed it, but you don't know where it went. And besides that, we're in the same complex though, so if you want to come get us or find us, it sounds like the Tri-County meetings are going to be at the new regional office though, and they move like today, so.
Where's that at? South of Division, right?
They're
So,
over by the museum or whatever.
yeah, south of the History Museum.
Okay, right.
And so I know they have kind of directions for you guys.
We'll
It's-
figure it out.
Yeah, you'll find it. We'll see you in a couple
Never heard of the
months.
History Museum, but
I haven't either.
imagine.
The old Walmart, do you know where the old Walmart was in St.
Okay,
Cloud?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there for years.
Not Shopville.
I have no idea.
Your,
About
Our
what?
current location, just
pretty
keep
easy.
heading south on 33rd and then go through another 3/4 sets of lights and they'll be on the right-hand side. Down Robinson Motors is
They're
somewhere
about a
near
mile
there,
out.
Miller
Okay,
Complex,
west of
something
St.
down in that area.
or south of St. Cloud.
Are we
Yeah.
good, or should I Google map it?
No, we're good for now.
You'll find it.
We got a couple months.
me
to
an
You
figure
do.
address.
this out.
Yeah.
I think the
February
reason
you'll
we're
be
making
down
discussion, we're going so fast, so we're trying to,
Any questions about what's going on in Extension? I mean, we'd love to see your face or your input as much as possible so that we can make sure
Keep up
we're
the good
meeting the
work.
needs.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Yes, Commissioner Jelinski.
Beth, I just would like to make a little bit of a comment.
Sure.
I don't know if you were here earlier. I went to Sprout this weekend,
Oh, how was it?
and pretty cool, lots of people.
Good.
The one concern that was voiced to me was that we make sure that we certainly include all income levels in whatever we can do, however we can do it, to whatever extent we can do. And, you know, I know that all of this is stepping stones.
Right.
But I just want to make sure that we are able, as much as we possibly can, your end, my end, everybody's end, to be able to keep that focus of making sure that we can serve everyone.
Right.
At the best we can.
Very good point.
You know, Commissioner Jelinski, and I need to respond to that. Do you
Please.
remember growing up years ago in Little Falls, and my grandparents were from Piers, and then my other grandparents were down by St. Cloud, and everybody had a garden. I mean,
Absolutely.
Every
This is part
home,
of-
every home in Little Falls. You go
Absolutely.
through alleys, and there were big gardens behind every house. It's amazing how that's changed, and now we're trying to get back to that. It just kind of popped in. It's like,
Absolutely.
and now we're trying to. And I think getting to all levels of incomes, that is what to do, to really work with and let people know they've got a house, they've got a little land, they can do their own garden. They can. So there's so many things we can. They're starting to
pop up too.
They really are. So.
Well, and again, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
to piggyback on that, it's, like I make my own sauerkraut, but it's cheaper to go buy it in the store than the manual labor, but it still tastes better.
And you know what's in it, and how it's made.
That's the key.
That's a main thing.
Very good point. I'll bring that up with Arlene. I think they have that established to accept SNAP and EBT.
Probably do.
But, because I'm pretty sure some of the farmers markets do as well, not that they're up and running at the moment. But
I think things became too easy. I really do. As
Yeah.
far as accessibility to food and a lot cheaper and a lot less energy and now we're kind of coming back. And, you know, I think we need to, we really do, because the stuff we grow is so much more healthy and we don't know, you know, we know what we used on it to, you know, good stuff, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of work going on the sustainability financially of smaller systems and, you know, is it long-term able to do it? And so Extension's looking a lot at that, and that's part of some of the benchmark projects and stuff that I'm a part of to kind of assess
Too,
that.
Mr. Chair, if you go to the store, the organic, people are willing to pay more.
They are willing
I mean,
to.
like eggs, my sister sells eggs, and it's like, I don't know how much dollar a dozen she gets, because they come out of a regular chicken.
Right.
A regular chicken.
Regular.
You know, so, but it is, they get 3 times what they get in the store. You know, so it's-
Well, it makes a difference when your chickens are run around in the yard and they
Right,
can
yeah.
eat other stuff. I mean, they can eat insects and
Right,
eat
yeah.
grass and eat instead of just the feed, you know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying. so.
Insect control, right?
Well, that helps too with ticks. You know, we have our chickens in the yard and I'll tell you, the ticks are so many fewer in the summer since we've had chickens the last 10 years, so. Yeah, it all helps.
Well, very good. Hope to see your faces for sure February down at the Tri-County meeting.
And down at the meal.
You might see it.
And down at the
very
meal,
late this
maybe,
morning,
yeah.
too.
All right, thanks.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
Have a
very
good
kind of
Christmas.
that. Merry Christmas.
All right, Veterans Report. Morning, Kathy. Come on up.
Morning, Kathy.
Didn't forget about you guys.
Morning. Good morning, Kathy.
Right on time.
You're 2 minutes early. We're 2 minutes
That's
early.
pretty good.
We're 2 minutes early. That's
Good job, Mr. Chair.
Maybe you should slow
A
down.
veteran in crisis,
we
that
don't
time
have
of the
lunch
year.
till 11:30, so we really have to slow down.
But anyway, good morning. So I'll start out with, we had our veterans recognition. That was back in October, so that's one of the things that's happened since I had last spoken with you guys. And that was a nice event. It turned out very, very wonderful. People that were participated in that really enjoyed it. So it's good to recognize the volunteers, and I'm keeping a list of like different projects that we have that people would volunteer with, and every so often I think it's good just to thank them, if anything, and have a little something for them. So, and I've been meeting with the Region 5 CVSOs, the Veteran Service Officer out of Wadena is starting to work with, he wants to do, or presented an idea with working with NJPA, sorry, I always want to say that wrong, grants, and he has a memorial that he has in Wadena that he wants to fix up, and some different things like that are actually built, and so he's wanting to know with the other counties, do we have things where we would want to participate in this and make it so it benefits everyone from Region 5 type of projects. We had a lot of ideas out there. One of our needs that we have, and it's kind of a need, or we've just been doing it. I don't know necessarily that we need it, but medical supplies. We have Stan Wagner, who's out of Royalton. Some of you may know him. He's got just a beautiful project that's going there where people will donate medical supplies, and then he will clean them up and get them out to people. And a great idea that I have, but it's trying to find people and where do you get the building and stuff. I know he wants to retire from that, so eventually at some point I'd love to have a building like that and have we have a lot of veterans who are young, who are 100% disabled for different reasons, but they physically and mentally could do some kind of project. And I thought, wouldn't this be a great thing for them to run this place where they could bring in the supplies, they can sit there and work together, and then they could deliver them to people. That's a wonderful dream, but that's a long ways off. And we talked about that, and I said, this takes a lot. We couldn't make this happen and write up a request from funding and stuff without a good plan by me. So that we won't be doing. But there may be some other just little things in the county, some different memorials that I've talked with some different legions and VFWs. Randall had just moving a memorial from one spot to another. It's like a $1,500 type thing. But if there's some things that you guys know of out in the county that you think would benefit veterans from all over, or ideas, I'm open to those things. Or you're like, don't be involved with this, that's fine too. But I guess I just would like input if you have any. Otherwise, I've been doing it's been the holiday season, so lots of holiday events with different veterans organizations and stuff, and so those have been good. But it's been good just to meet with a lot of different people and talk about how things are going. And one neat project, I went to the Yellow Ribbon meeting last night. We have our heroes are helping each other heat homes, and one of the things that I really liked about that is some of our veterans who we've been helping in one way or another, whether it's been helping them move or helping provide wood for them, they're actually helping cut some of the wood and split some of the wood. So they're giving back, and that was really nice to see. Because sometimes people keep taking, but then they don't want to do anything in return. So being able to see that turn around and for them to be able to give something back, it makes them feel good, and it's nice for the people that are working with that. So that was really, really neat to see yesterday. Wreaths for the Fallen was a nice project. I don't know who all goes and participates in that, but that was this weekend, and that's a very beautiful thing that I participated in. And we're doing our holiday letter that we did last year. So we're working on that. I've got some people in the room, so that's the mess that we have going on in there. But some volunteers that come in and help stuff envelopes and things like that. And then some upcoming things. We have a financial class that'll be on Thursday. We have retired Colonel Weaver, Rich Weaver, that is now a financial advisor, and he'd like to work with some of our elderly and just providing guidance and information. How do we utilize our funds that are left in a smart way? So that'll be fun, and hopefully we have a good turnout. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Is that planned to be held here?
Yes.
In the facility?
Yes, so it'll be down in meeting room 1 on Thursday. So anybody's, it's open to anyone. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to be a veteran. It can be anybody that just, hey, how can I better finance for the future? And then I will have a really fun radio ad coming out. You'll hear it on all the Little Falls stations next week. It's just a nice Christmassy thing, but it's kind of spreading the thing. We have a lot of people that get depressed this time of year, so I wanted it to be upbeat and try to encourage people to be happy, and myself, so I'm going to play it to myself often when I get crabby. But it is. Stay happy, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, and then encouraging, I get a lot of families that come in and see me after their loved one has died and or passed away, and they are like, he or she should have applied for benefits, that kind of thing, and it's too late at that point. So encouraging veterans, if you want to give a present, come in, take care of the entitlements and benefits, if not for you, but for your family. So that's a big one out there, because some people are like, I don't need anything, but you know what? Yeah, there are things that you might be entitled to. So. And then we're looking at getting January, February, again, another months that people get quite depressed and things like that. And then we seem to have a lot of deaths, unfortunately, after the holidays. And so getting some, a motivational speaker or something like that we've been talking about, and just having a kind of an upbeat thing to cheer people up, if anything. And then e-benefits, how to use that. A lot of people get confused. So if we get them all in one room, it might be easier than trying to approach that one-on-one. And then with our outreach grants, so there's a lot of things that we're spending on or utilizing that outreach grant that we get from the state. One thing that we came up with, and I had mentioned it earlier, but want to make sure it's fine with all of you before I go and make the purchase, is getting a computer that is used for e-benefits, just for veterans benefits. It's a separate thing for veterans that don't have a computer. We'd have that available in our office.
Do you have space to put that?
We're working on that. So
Yeah.
a lot of the filing cabinets that we have kind of behind Dorothy's desk can be emptied in, because we've got a lot of that scanned in, so we can move that, and then we'd make a little space there. It's not gonna be big, but, you know, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, and as we look at space in our facility in general, I think that concept, that very concept is something we need to keep in mind where we provide public use terminals, because so much of what we do or what we want to offer access to for those that we serve kind of play into that. I know there was a few offices that have been talking about that concept and really would add value to those that we serve to have that set up in a way that they can be accessible,
Well,
really.
and if we're not providing that for them, then we're doing it for them.
Yeah, more often than not, and helping them learn and, work with them as we're here, oftentimes will add value later on and allow them to be more independent when they do that, and I think that's kind of what your
Right.
approach is. I mean, connecting people with those tools is important, and so it's something that's kind of a theme, so just wanted to throw that out there, that we're looking at that concept in many areas.
And keeping privacy and, you know,
Exactly.
like where Dorothy's sitting, if they're right there, like having her screen so that they can't see what's happening on her screen, and then having them
not-
some privacy, but also keeping
Yeah.
a watch on what they're doing,
Yep.
you know, so they're not on the wrong thing as
Yeah,
well. That can
it's not
happen.
ideal, but we're making it work all over, but it's something we're keeping in mind in general. Thanks.
So my question would be, Deb, we can, that's just discretionary, Kathy can do that without, Coming.
It's the outreach funds that are funding it, so I think
Oh,
it's available in
it's
our
already
budget,
there.
so
Okay,
yes,
all
just
right.
kind of
Just
an
checking.
FYI.
Okay.
Unless there's something that you don't want to see, I would assume that that's absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
okay.
So if there's things, you know, that I'm doing, and I'm spending a lot of things on radio ads, I may do a billboard. I don't know if that's really gonna be a great thing or not, but, the computer and different events here and there that we would do for outreach, and if there's something that, you know, obviously that I'm spending that money and you're like, that is really idiotic, Kathy, you know, please, well, you would, I know you would tell me, so. But yeah, those are the ideas of what we're planning on doing. And that, those funds, for those that don't know, they've gotta be spent by May, June timeframe, so I gotta get my buns moving here. But, and we'll do some pens and just little things we can hand out, you know, those are nice too, so.
Sounds good.
All right, other questions, gentlemen? All right.
Thank you.
Have a
Merry
good Christmas,
Christmas.
Kathy.
Merry Christmas, and thank you for the update.
All right, budget report, Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Morning.
Steve.
How's everyone doing today?
Phenomenal.
Getting along?
Thanks for asking.
All right.
We're getting along.
It's very nice of you actually to ask. I
It's
appreciate
the
it.
holiday party, I just want to make sure everyone was having a good time. Not sure what's the first thing that's
Oh, I'm sorry.
on
I'll wake up.
is the HRA. We'll start with the HRA then. This is the HRA, it's a no change from the preliminary at 30,000 to approve their levy for 2016.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion to second, further discussion, gentlemen, on the HRA $30,000 levy.
Mr. Chair, as a reminder, if I could, the HRA is an organization that's run and governed by a different board. However, you are the authority that levies dollars for
You
that.
sit on that board, don't you?
I do. I do, and they are still waiting to hear on the repayment issue regarding, okay.
And I think that's been a good connect to have a commissioner regularly attend. That's something that fell off for whatever reason for a long time, but I think that's helped improve the communication, helped improve that connectivity about what that organization does, because as I said, you are the levying authority, so
And one last point, the board members, they're appointed or they're elected?
Appointed.
appointed by U.S. commissioners and districts.
Yep, and I believe Commissioner Johnson's is gonna be up here.
Yep.
He's resigning?
Mine's up, and I don't have anybody lined up 100% yet, but a former county commissioner might take it.
Okay. All right. Roll call vote, gentlemen. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, next.
All right, now we'll move on to the county's, I believe, levy. We'll start with the levy first. As you well know, we've met numerous times throughout the year to get to this budget at this point in time. We did hold our truth and taxation meeting on December 3rd. Not a whole lot of people showed up. A lot of them just questioned their values, and we sent them off to go have a good conversation with the county assessor about that. So we'll need a motion for the levy first. We're at 3%.
Mr. Chair, as you
Yes,
recall,
Deb.
the initial preliminary levy, which resulted in all departments back in June, starting the process when they look at, well, even before that, that we meet with you, kind of set overall guidelines at a policy level, look at what, as an organization, is going to impact upcoming budgets and dollars that we need to work with, both on the expense side and on the revenue side. And then we have met, oh goodness, probably 6 to 8 times since then. The departments are given the opportunity to work directly with you as a board and present what it is that they are looking to do for the coming year in goals, in accomplishments that they intend, what those are going to cost, what revenues are going to impact that, where they look for additional revenues, all of that. The preliminary levy was set in September at 4.96. We have worked under your direction to reduce that, and the result is 3%. So it's taken quite a bit of dollars off of that, and I think that's good work and good direction on your part in terms of really only taxing what it is we absolutely need and making sure that we're good stewards of those dollars. So the end result at this point in time is 3% after all of that work is complete. And I think one thing that we can look to, and you should feel good about, is that departments continue to pay attention to that. And if there's ways throughout the year to reduce costs, or if there's ways to seek additional revenues, things of that nature, that goes on all the time. But this is the really blueprint for 2016 in terms of spending and revenues.
Gentlemen, discussions.
Mr. Chair, probably one of the more unfavorable, if that's a word or not, motions that need to be made once a year is this motion, is the levy motion, and it's at 3%. This very board, as has been said to all of us, again, met quadrillions of times and talked about it. I'll make the motion.
And Mr. Chair, I'll be making a second here in a minute, but my looking forward is a lot of this, I don't know, maybe Deb can help it on the hospitalization or the medical, was such a tremendous increase, and we, in the county, thanks to them, they did a great job of keeping the cost down, but could you tell me what the dollar figure was, the increase this year? It was like 11% or 12%?
12% overall. The county portion of that is half of that. Employees pick up half of that. We share in that burden. Insurance costs are big. I mean, most of our expense goes towards people and those that we employ, because we're not making widgets, we're serving people. And so payroll costs and labor costs that include things like insurance are extensive. So it's something we work very closely with our staff to try to contain as best as possible. I think we've got very reasonable staff who approach this very similarly to how you do, in terms of we're a kind of basic organization that isn't out looking for the best in the world, but we're doing a good job with what we have. And I think the employees recognize that. You as a board have led this organization in that regard, and I think we've got a good relationship on trying to do what we can together to contain those costs as much as possible. But costs increase, and things increase, and over time that happens. But I think that increase is as flat as we possibly can make it, and everybody in this organization, all the employees under your direction, really work hard to keep it that way.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
every
Johnson?
year the health insurance keeps rising. I don't know where it's gonna stop.
And two, if I do, Mr. Commissioner Johnson, too, isn't the insurance, there's the Obamacare is basically coming full tilt next year, where there's gonna be a greater increase. The Cadillac plan may be taxed, so I think next year that hospitalization's gonna be a big factor in our levy.
We will have to see. There's so much coming down in terms of possibilities and what's going to happen with insurance. And it's a big unknown right now, and we're going to have to work together. And I think the approach in the last number of years has been that, and I've been so impressed with staff who come to the table and meet as, this is a thing we have to work on together. We're in it together. Utilizing insurance is what costs, and we're employees who need to utilize insurance and do utilize it. So we really have to work together with staff to come up with a plan on what we can do to contain costs, because we always have to be aware the money that this organization spends on that are taxpayer dollars. So we need to make sure we're doing the best we possibly can on containing that. And, you know, like I said, I can't stress enough, our staff here really understand that, and the relationship that we have, really work works well in terms of coming up with a game plan together. And I have no doubt we'll work on that in the future, but it is tough. There's a lot of costs that have the potential to hit our books.
It's gonna be a big battle going on, once they get into this election, it's gonna be a lot of focus on that, because there's
It's a lot of costs.
a lot of costs there that but they say they have the votes to overturn it, but yet, how do you do that and pay for it?
Commissioner Wilson?
Well, and along with this here, we're filling some gaps in the law enforcement, where we have 24-hour service, and also our attorney's office to take care of things quicker. So that's been added to this here, that's within the 3% that I think will save us some money in the long run.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think our world has changed, and I don't think anybody can argue that in terms of what citizens expect for response and what they expect through that legal system, the judicial system, all of that, what we need to respond to, how folks need to work together when responding, and what that means in terms of what used to be a very minor thing that we didn't think twice about now has the potential to be very scary because of what's going on in the world today. So I think, yes, the support of that is much appreciated, because I think that as an organization, we ought to be there to the level that's appropriate to protect our citizens, to serve those. So there are a couple of things in this budget that we're looking to fill in terms of gaps where we previously had them. I think that's something that hasn't happened for a long time. Again, what I just said, conservative. We've been very, very conservative with that. But I think you can do that for so long, and then we have to look at what makes the most sense to make sure we're not losing sight of that ultimate mission, which is, to make sure we're paying attention to the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. So you're right.
Well, and I also feel like in Brian's office, I was quite shocked that there hasn't been any additions for 15 years with all the things that have come about. So they've done a very good job at doing what they do, so.
You're right.
Anything else, gentlemen?
With that being said, I'll second the motion.
All right, further discussion? I would like to kind of add, like Commissioner Wilson said, we fill some gaps. Two new deputies, a new county attorney. And living up in the northern part of the county and having just been at the AMC conference, talking to some commissioners from both Todd and Wadena counties, I think we really have minimized in all of this request for new positions the amount of resurgence with meth and the impacts on families. And I really think we need to look at that, because when meth comes into the picture and more drug use and abuse come in, we really increase the needs across the whole spectrum with child protection, with court services, with our law enforcement. And we just had a couple of different entities come in here from University of Minnesota and from our caring communities stuff, and to really try to develop and encourage and support families and do this community involvement stuff without the support from our county attorney's office and from our sheriff's department, okay, to address these issues, I think would be remiss on our part. So I believe we've done that, and we needed to do that. So that being said, we have a motion on the floor, gentlemen. It's a roll call. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Winchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Aye.
Trying to confuse us.
You confused yourself.
Good. Anyways, next, Steve.
The next is the budget for 2016. That's at a 5.63%. Again, that varies a little bit more because of depending on the projects that are going on. Usually in the highway department, if some federal money comes in, his will go up $1 million in no time at all. And so that's not unusual for it to fluctuate like that. It happens every year, it seems like. We got something going on. Year before, it was the landfill where we added a cell. So there was $1 million there that we'd planned for, put money aside. And so it's not unusual for that kind of thing to go on with our budget.
Also move on that, Mr.
I
Chair.
have a motion and a second. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
as you can see, the anticipated spending that this organization will do in 2016 is just over $40 million. However, what we collect locally from property taxpayers in the levy is just under 17. So the difference comes from federal and state dollars, comes from other income sources and revenue sources that we look to capitalize on in an effort to keep that levy as low as possible. So that's that difference. That's why that's different. just wanted to point that out.
Mr. Chair, one of the things that we've,
Sorry.
what we've done over the years, and we continue to do it, is we take a look at our fund balances. And our fund balances, and financially, Morrison County is in excellent shape. But what we look at is from year to year is, you know, we look at 14, and what did we do in 14? Did we add to it? Are we good? And then we'll use some of that money so that we're not levying new money. And so we do that all the time, and just to make sure that, you know, we're utilizing, okay, this didn't happen, so let's move it forward. And so now we're not gonna levy new money, we're gonna use the money we had from Bass. And we use that and do that all the time, which has been a good strategy, and it puts us in a good position to do some of the things that we've done over the years, so.
Questions, gentlemen?
Well, you know, I've said this before, but I still think it's incredible how people misunderstand, like social service, for instance, when our taxpayers are paying this $9.6 million, and they bring in about $77 million into our county, where money is given, you know, to people, to elderly, to programs, and that money all is generated to businesses. So I think it's amazing sometimes at what the county really does for the community and what they bring in and what it actually really costs our taxpayers.
Financial impact of that.
Yep, and I think there's a big misunderstanding sometimes on what county does, and when I've looked into some of this stuff, I mean, it's just amazing to me where we would be if we didn't have these funds, business-wise and everything, on how it's just generated between highway department, and so, that's all I can say.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think county government is that workhorse behind the scenes that not everybody recognizes all the time, and I think that's okay, we're not meant to be. But we're there when folks are hurt, we're there when they need help, we're there oftentimes in those situations which there's nobody else to serve, and so you're right, I think that gets missed sometimes in terms of what it is we're really doing in this building, and that's okay, as long as we're here when they need us, and I think that's important to remember, because we do really serve so many that I don't think is always at the forefront of people's minds.
Other input, gentlemen? You know, and if we look at the impact, and we're looking at wages, I mean, even if we talk about medical insurance, the amount of money that goes into providing health insurance and coverage to people in nursing homes, at our clinics and our hospitals, all across the continuum, whether it's EEI, I mean, any of these programs, there's some federal and state dollars that go into this. So that brings money into the community, and that's so important. So it's that constant turnover, and turnaround, so very important stuff. Gentlemen, that all being said, Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
And aye. Next.
All right, and the last item I have, you know, is our 2016 fee schedule, which is part of our budget and levy. But we did hold a public hearing about the fees that had changed, which were very minimal. The most, I guess, the impactful, I guess, was on the liquor licensing and such, where if they had training, they'll have this fee won't change on them, but that was pretty minor in itself too. But we do need to approve this fee schedule to put into place for 2016, and would need a motion on that also.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
A second.
And a second. Further discussion on the fee schedule, gentlemen.
Again, Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Wincher?
if I may, the big change would be on the liquor license, but really, if they apply for their license and they do the training, I think that was a great discussion, and then they don't have a price increase, so there's.
Other comments? Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my question on that, Katie's gone, I think. Katie's still gone, right?
Our public health.
Public health.
That's your question? Yes.
Yeah, no.
She'll be here today.
On that, you know, I hope they work when they do these trainings, that they work with, you know, because I had 2 or 3 constituents of mine in my area call, and, you know, like, if they have the training, not just during the day, they might need an evening one or something too, to work out for all those people.
I think the intent is to be as flexible as
A
possible.
lot of these have, you know, there's a lot of part-time people working at establishments, so.
Mr. Chair, there's discussion
Yes.
about
Hopefully they
online
work together.
opportunities, there's discussion
Yeah.
a lot about accessibility and recognizing that
Yeah.
so many of these establishments already are participating in this responsible server training and are already recognizing the
Yeah.
importance of that.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that was a discussion, we certainly will reiterate
Yeah,
that
because
because,
some of them, their insurance company does it, but the other ones might go through the county,
Yeah.
you know.
And these fees have not been changed in Like I said, I couldn't even go
Check
back and
back 15 years,
find
I think you did, didn't you? You still
15,
didn't
and then
find
some of the
anything.
reports are
Yeah.
into things that I
Yeah.
can't get access to anymore because
Yep.
the software's changed, but I know it hasn't been changed since I've been here, and I've been here a while.
And Mr. Chair, we did have somebody here at the public
And you don't want to
meeting
say when.
I don't want to say
state
that.
that we're bringing up the license fees, and then that person backed down, well, maybe I shouldn't bring it up, what do we charge for license fees, due to other counties' charge.
Yes, compared to them, yeah.
Right.
Yep. The other thing too is this training is so important. I mean, we need to do everything we can to ensure that our roads are safe. That then ultimately cuts down on our county attorney's work, our sheriff's work, and whatever. So this is important to, when you're serving alcohol, it's important to really know, the effects and what to look for. So, Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, and I just think that incentive program is really good. If you want to do it, the rates don't go up. If you don't want to
Yep.
do it, you got to pay the higher rates.
That's right. You make a choice, and it gives
Yep.
people a choice, which I think
Yep.
is a very good deal.
I like that.
All right. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Roll call vote. Commissioner Wincher?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, Steve has done an
Thank
excellent job again as.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks again, Steve.
Appreciate it.
Maybe you wanna stick around here. Deb apparently isn't here quick, so there's a few permits.
but I think she's got something else.
We have.
We just had a cash report. I don't know if anyone had any questions on our
I
cash
didn't,
report.
do you gentlemen have any question on the cash report?
And there's a few licenses.
I got the
Joyce
licenses,
can do
I
those.
think.
So we're covering all that then?
Aye.
Yep. I think unless you had questions about the cash report, I don't have anything to say on
Good to go.
on it.
Till next time.
Thank you,
All right,
Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Come on, Joyce, you look unorganized.
Filling in here.
Be nice, Commissioner.
Okay. Okay, we have the three items on the agenda. And the first one is an exempt permit to hold a raffle by the Morrison County Wild Gobblers to hold a raffle on February 5th, 2016 at the Falls Ballroom.
Gentlemen, you wanna do these separately or
Or
all
all
together?
together? You wanna?
All together. Can we do them all together?
Can we?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
And then the other liquor license was a one-day application for the Little Falls Area Chamber of Commerce to hold an event February 25th, 2016 at the Falls Ballroom. They do that from year to year.
Yep.
Sean has approved both of those. I didn't have that note on here because I hadn't gotten his email back. And then do you want to do the repurchase?
We'll do that separately.
Yeah.
Let's do the
Okay,
two.
I'll make a motion on these first two, on number one and number three.
I'll second.
Yeah.
I have a motion second. Further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, and finally, I have a repurchase of tax forfeited lands. These two parcels just forfeit, I don't think I have a copy. Dennis Garrison, he had two lots that forfeited this year, like a month or so ago, and now he decided to repurchase it because he's selling them, so he's gonna pay up the taxes, delinquents, currents, all the fees, repurchase it, and then resell it, so he'll be probably not letting them go delinquent again.
All right, gentlemen?
So that needs
So
to be
moved.
I have a
signed.
motion. Do I have a second? And a second from Commissioner Wincher. Further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Joyce.
Okay, I think there's one more.
There is a
Another thing?
write-off of delinquent mobile home taxes. I
Okay, that's
have
fine. Okay,
a list in the
okay.
board packet already.
Oh, there is, do you
Yeah.
need, she's got
I'll
copies here.
probably give it to Kathleen. Yep.
We got stuff on our thing here too.
She's got one, okay, so she didn't need.
Here
and
she
this-
comes. Here
Okay,
she
she can
comes.
do that one, because I don't know too much about that
You
one.
done making dinner, Deb?
Oh, we're still working on it.
Okay.
So they're just on the write-offs.
Yeah, the rest?
Yep, the rest is good.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce. Good morning.
Good morning, Deb.
Okay, so our write-offs, did you guys get a copy?
Yep.
Okay. So these are the manufactured home taxes that are more than 10 years old and extremely unlikely to be collected. So what we've gotten into the practice of doing is writing them off once they're so old. So this would include the taxes, penalty, interest, and fees.
Question,
Chair,
Commissioner
yeah.
Wincher, I have a question
You know,
too.
We discussed this maybe a year or two ago about this here, and the challenge we have is because there's no property underneath them.
Correct.
So that is, how do we collect from something that there's nothing property? Do we take the manufactured homes? I don't think we can because they don't have a license. I don't know if you could help us out a little bit on that?
The law does allow us to get more strict in that, once they get delinquent, we could go in and we could take their TV or their car, et cetera. But we have to actually be more strict in how we apply them and in our collections and our letters. And we don't have those policies in place yet. So our plan is to sit down with the assessor's office and start being more stringent in making sure that we're applying them correctly, that we're catching them all, that we're being more correct in how we enforce them and getting them all on the books correctly. And we don't have those mobile home owners or park owners who are trying to sell them contract for deed without doing it legally. So to try to get all of that more in line so that we can collect them better.
Well, my question would be, Brian, maybe you can answer this. How do we hold the person, say this one with Little Falls cottages, how do we hold them accountable to not be doing this kind of stuff that sets us up to end up footing the bill at the end? I'm
not familiar
with that.
this issue,
Okay.
particular issue. This is the first time.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair, if I
yes.
could pipe in a little bit, it's not the Little Falls cottages that's being taxed. It's who
Has
who-
the trailer
yes,
on the
has
property.
the trailer
on their
on the property. And populations tend to be a little less, a little more mobile, let's put it that way.
Correct.
So it's hard to find them. The process with these is that they go to the state in a revenue recapture program. So if these folks are filing for income tax returns and getting those things and all that, we can recapture some of these dollars. But as you can see, if you break it down individually for some of these properties, it's very minimal what the tax is on it. The taxation of personal property is sometimes more work than it's worth in terms of how we have to approach this process and the revenue that comes forward with it and trying to stay up on what's going on. And then like I said, it's more of a transient type of process oftentimes that we're trying to get a hold of these people, but by the time that it goes delinquent and we send letters, they're gone. They've moved out, and there's been 3 people that lived there since, and none of them have done what it is they're supposed to do in terms of register with that and get us the information to be able to collect and tax those personal properties. So it's a tough one, and it's sometimes the process that you can go through in terms of trying and the tools we have to try to recapture some of this stuff, like going into somebody's home and taking a television and figuring out how to market that and all. I mean, you can imagine that to collect $150 tax, that's probably going to cost the organization and other taxpayers far more than what it would be in getting taxed. So it's weighed in terms of what effort do we put in and what's the value that we get in return for that. So
Our goal long-term is to work better with the park owners so that they understand the turnover and to help us educate the public in those parks. So we have less and less of this, but we know for the next few years, we had a couple of park owners who did this contract for deed and they didn't do it legally. And so for the next few years, you're gonna see this come up at a little bit higher rate than what we wanna see.
So they're doing a contract for deed on property that they really can't be deeding because it's a part of a park.
Right, and they didn't do it in a legal fashion that really gave us any authority to go in and enforce it. They didn't have all the proper language in the contracts. It was really just a piece of paper that said, let's do a contract for deed and here's what you owe me. And they really didn't come in and record anything. They didn't come in and record the deed and pay the taxes, motor vehicle, pay the taxes in our office. They didn't do any of that stuff.
So you couldn't hold the park owner accountable.
We had a very tough time because he says, I have a contract for deed, but nobody ever recorded any of it. Nobody went over to motor vehicle and
So how
tried to
does he have a
transfer.
contract for deed then if it hasn't been recorded?
Exactly,
So you're talking about putting things in place to be able to address that specific issue?
exactly.
Okay, seems like a real loophole.
And Mr. Chair, because what happens is they have the manufactured home sitting
Yep,
there,
yep,
and then
trailer park,
that trailer park owns it, and well, I'm gonna sell it to you.
Right.
But you're not, you think you're buying the land below it, you're still not, see? You're just buying the motor home.
Yeah.
And most people do understand that, and the 2 park owners we had a lot of trouble with are not here any longer. So we just want to educate the public that's there now and hopefully work with the park owners a whole lot closer.
So by putting in some kind of, do you need an ordinance? Do you need some kind of language?
We're not
that-
sure yet.
Oh, okay.
We're going to meet with the assessor here over the next few months try to put in some processes. We're gonna look at what some of the other counties do.
That's
Some of
what I
them are
was-
extremely
yeah.
strict, a little bit more than what we need, but we know that we can pull some processes in from other counties that we can implement here.
Because you can imagine in big counties with huge trailer parks, this could be, this could end up being a lot of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just could.
And
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if the term not doing it legally is necessarily, there are procedures that need to be followed in certain
Correct.
regards. I don't know if I know of the process well enough to say whether what they were doing, I don't want to imply that it's maybe
Oh, no,
legal
no,
or
no,
not.
and I'm not saying
but
it's
there could-
illegal.
Yeah, maybe not worded
But
correctly, you're
there are
right.
procedures
right.
that need to be followed
Sure.
and steps that need to be taken in terms of notification of transactions.
That weren't
and-
taken.
And things of that nature. So, I don't want to necessarily, I don't know that we know that for sure, because Brian's looking at me going, when there's illegal activity, that
I just
is.
think we're gonna have to start.
You're correct, I
titling
might not have worded that
posters,
correctly, thank you, Deb.
Blenders, we'll have to start putting titles on them so we can.
Well, I imagine this has to be a struggle for most counties in the
Yes.
state.
Yes.
This has got to be a very difficult tax to collect.
And for small counties, it's very difficult not to have the staff to go out and
Right,
enforce it, and
like
so.
Deb said, the cost.
Yeah.
Commissioner Zelinski?
Mr. Chair, I think that this is a pretty difficult situation. I got it. I understand the whole piece to it. I think it's a loophole, to be honest with you, that has been missed in the legal system. I can't believe that there's a loophole anywhere. However, I do have one question with this whole entire document. I understand the piece where Little Falls cottages are mentioned with another name. I got it. I do see one bullet point where Little Falls Cottages Incorporated is listed all by itself. Last I knew, Little Falls Cottages was in fact a business. I would think that there would be something, in an opinion, without knowing any of it, that that one particular instance should be able to have something done with it.
Right, and we've tried to collect from
The
that
business?
business over and over.
Is the business not a viable business? I'm just
Put a lien-
asking the
Can you put a
question.
lien against the
I'm just
business?
asking.
I'm just wondering.
And I think probably we could have tried, and again, through revenue recapture, things like that, and I don't know what Russ did, going back. So I'm just dealing with what I've got now in front of me. The owner at that point in time is no longer there. We have a new owner in that park. And so we can't go after that owner.
Why?
Why can't you put a lien against the property or I'm just wondering, because it was accrued with the property, and when the property was sold, I'm just,
Well, I think the owner who bought it should have, got it deeded and everything cleared up, but apparently for $56.
Yeah, apparently it didn't happen, and
Yeah, that's normally.
Mr. Chair,
It's-
yes.
on that particular one here, it looks like he made the payment of the $56. He just didn't pay the interest of 28. Am I correct the way I read this?
no, at this point, we're asking to write off the 56 and the 28.
What's this over here, payments, $56?
Oh, you are correct.
He made the payment of $56?
He must have made the payment of
Yeah.
56 in order to
Yeah.
transfer title on that one, you are correct.
$28
I
is
didn't see
saying no
that.
to.
Yeah, so the ones on the right side is really what we're writing off with the
Yes,
interest?
the outstanding balance,
Yep, not on the lot.
you are correct.
I guess, Deb, I would be okay with all of this as long as I know that you in fact are working with the auditor's office
Yeah.
with other, and getting information from other counties on how we can alleviate this, because it's
Yeah.
really not right
I agree.
that some people or some businesses don't have to do what the rest of the world has to do.
That's right.
I understand it, but as long as we're working forward to it, there's not a whole lot we can do.
No.
Yeah, my goal would be to take this process and make it more efficient upfront, so we don't have to do this at the end.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, gentlemen,
Okay.
So what do we do here? Do we need a
do
motion?
I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. And then
Okay.
warrants.
Yeah.
Warrants,
Warrants.
gentlemen,
I would so move on the
Commissioner
warrants,
Bills.
all of them.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call? Commissioner Zelinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Winter.
Aye.
And aye.
Thank you,
All
Chair.
right.
Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
Okay,
See you
thank
in
you.
a while.
Administrators report.
All right, Mr. Chair, I have a number of different action items for your consideration. First, to wait for.
Let's take
Commissioner
5
Richard.
minutes,
All right.
please. Since I need a break as well.
Off my soup.
Let's resume
Yes.
let's resume the meeting.
All right, Mr. Chair, I have a few action items for your consideration.
All right.
First is to consider reappointing Dave Stish, District 3, to the Board of Adjustments for a term going from 12/31/15 to 12/31/18. Dave, as you recall, had initially started midterm to finish out that of Chuck Parents, who left.
Can we do these all together?
We
then?
can. Is that okay with you? And then to consider appointing Bethy Jo, is it Jutton?
Jutton.
Okay. District 4 to the Board of Adjustment for a term 12/31/15 through 12/31/18. I think it's okay to put together. Thank you. And then last, to consider appointing Mary Lang, District 5, to the Board of Adjustment for a term 12/31/15 through 12/31/18.
I would so move, Mr. Chair, on those three.
I'll second.
Have a motion second. Further discussion, gentlemen. Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. And then we will be extending invitations, and I'm trying to think of the date, Nicole, maybe you recall. February, one of the earlier meetings in February, to those that are going off of those committees, to allow them to come in to identify and give them some appreciation regarding those that service they've done for those. 2 action items here, to consider reappointing Paul Cheetah, District 4, to the Planning Commission for a term of 12/31/15 to 12/31/18. Paul had again started midterm to finish out another individual. And then appointing Ross Womry, I believe, District 5, to the Planning Commission for a term of 12/31/15 to 12/31/18.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and second. Further discussion. Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I think, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
the process we got now, putting in the paper and that, I think has done well. Because for us 5 to sit here and try to pick somebody out, it gets tough to get the right person there. At least if they see it, Amy's did it, I think, for what, the last, is it a year now?
Yeah, there's been a few appointments and
Yeah,
turnovers, and
a few, and I think
Yeah,
that's
spring
great
she
to
started.
I
hear.
think it's working good.
Great to hear that
Yeah.
feedback in terms of
Good.
getting folks
Yep.
that are interested that we maybe didn't realize
Yeah,
were.
I
Yep.
guess that's
Yep.
my point is, these people have come forth that we probably wouldn't have picked because we didn't know them.
Right.
And they take
Yeah.
interest and that makes
Yeah.
a better board.
Yeah, both of mine. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought of it.
And it's not too, Mr. Chair, it's not like where they just get it, that they have an interview process of that sort too.
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and that process, there isn't anything that wouldn't, if you ever struggle with maybe finding a committee appointment, we certainly can take that approach elsewhere too if you find that it's useful for you. But yeah, it's been a nice way to find some people to serve. To approve the contract for legal services between Scott Wunderlich and Morrison County. The increase in the contract is for, the contract is for the CHIPS, Child in Need of Protection Services. Mr. Wunderlich has done that for us for years. The increase is at 2%. I believe he didn't have one for quite a period of time in terms of an increase. He does that work for us. There are 2 different contracts that we have with Scott, one for Public Defender Services and then one for the CHIPS, and these are the CHIPS. It's a 2-year contract.
Gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, is this a state law requires this, if I'm not mistaken?
We have to have
correct?
somebody to do this work, yes.
With that being said, I'll make the motion.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second. Further discussion, gentlemen. And it needs to be someone independent, so that's why. It can't be the county attorney. It needs to be someone to represent these cases.
We're on the other side of the table.
We are, very much so. So, having heard no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll let Scott know that is approved. I have for your consideration approving personnel policy revisions as attached. This was, kind of approved in a way already when we talked about our union contracts, and I had the authority to extend appropriate provisions to the non-union folks within the organization. It's been a practice of this organization and is not atypical by any means in government or employers that have unionized and non-unionized folks. In order to provide consistency for the staff here, we like to, like to extend certain parameters in a contract negotiation period or in a contract that we settle on to those that are not unionized. It provides continuity, it provides equitability in the organization, and it really is just an appropriate way to respond. And so we have all of these proposals as identified here. They would be effective 1/16 or the payroll period for 2016, which we're actually in now, with the exception of the healthcare savings plan for outgoing for the folks that we pay out accrued PTO or different accrued time that we owe a staff person, and we're proposing that goes into a healthcare savings plan instead of cash. It is beneficial both for the employee and for the organization. We don't pay taxes on it. They can have that money to access for healthcare benefits, and depending upon your tax bracket, increases that value anywhere from 30 to 40% without the employer paying those taxes also. So it's really a win-win for both. It's a change though, so I want time to allow staff to become familiar with that and to learn a little bit about what that means. And so the request would be to have that be in effect in mid-year, in July of 2016.
Gentlemen,
I would so move on that, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And a second. Further discussion. I have some discussion on this issue, and I think Morrison County has treated non-union employees fairly and equally with the other union employees. It avoids rifts between the different groups, and I think that is so important. So, and all of these changes were reviewed with the board in our planning sessions and in the discussion and stuff. So, very good. All those in favor, gentlemen?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
All right. The next request is to approve the attached resolution regarding commissioner salaries. The statute 375.055 requires that boards set salaries on an annual basis. The rest of the organization is part of a classification and compensation plan that we administered in an effort to be equitable, or to be compliant, I should say, with pay equity laws that public employers have to adhere to. But you as elected commissioners need to, maybe follow a little bit different rule in which you're not part of our class and compensation plan. And prior to the year end, you need to set your salaries for the next year, as those boards in an election year could change. The salary is at $31,304 annualized. Again, you can recall that a change was made. There are no per diems that are extended, no extra payments that are received. If any outside committee does offer a per diem, that goes to the county to offset the salary cost. It cleaned up that process quite a bit. Everybody has a simpler process to deal with and an equitable process to deal with. So I'm asking that that be considered.
Gentlemen?
Question now, is this for just the county commissioners? Is this
Just the county
just the county
commissioners,
commissioners?
because
Wanna make sure.
you need to do that in December.
Okay.
Okay, that was my question.
Further
So
discussion?
moved.
I have a motion.
I never
by
made a
Commissioner
motion, so,
I
you
did.
go, okay.
Yeah, he did. Commissioner Jeske made a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Gentlemen, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And I have a second. Further discussion? Under further discussion, we gave all of the employees, our department heads, their steps and a cost of living this year, okay? All of our insurance, not just the employees or the department heads, is going up quite a bit. I believe we need to be treated equally. I think there was a couple of years we did not take an increase. So I believe that to keep up with insurance costs and such, we need to do this, so.
And Mr. Chair, it's minimal, it's 2.25%, different from last year.
Further discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I opposed it.
Oh, you opposed it?
Yep.
All right.
to consider appointing the 2016 County Board meeting dates and planning session dates as attached. We need to set those dates so we can advertise appropriately, so we can let folks know when we're meeting. And just a note that December 8th is a Thursday to accommodate the annual AMC conference, which is, runs through Tuesday of December. So as typical, Tuesdays, either planning session or county board. It alternates. When there's 5 Tuesdays in a month, we have a week off. And then planning sessions, if there aren't agenda items, we'll cancel occasionally, but.
Mr. Chair, one question. Do we have one the 31st of December, and there's already one I see January 5th? Are they usually that, I didn't think they were that close together
Year to make up.
at the end of the year.
It really depends upon how the calendars
How the
work.
calendar goes.
Like
Okay.
this year, we
Okay.
have one on the
It just
31st
seems
and
like
the
it's
7th. That's
kinda
only
close.
one day apart, or one day more than this, but
Commissioner Winch will be in charge, he can make it a short one if he chooses.
Not for that one, right?
not the
5th?
31st one.
The 5th, I mean.
Oh, the 5th, well, we'll see.
So, yeah.
Need a motion? So
Yep.
moved.
I'll
Second.
second. Oh, go ahead.
Commissioner Johnson seconded, he was a little quicker on the draw. Further discussion, gentlemen? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
All right. Then our travel policy identifies that anybody traveling out of state needs board approval. During the budget process, I let you know that I am pursuing the final step of a national negotiation certification program, a training program, is conducted. The testing portion of that will be conducted at the annual conference, which is in Memphis, April 17th through the 21st. So in order to complete that training and receive that certification, the final step would be taking that test at that conference. And so I would ask that that be approved. It did, it was built into my budget.
Gentlemen,
Okay. I would so move on that, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And a second. Further discussion.
Mr. Chair, my further discussion would be, Ms. Gruber handles most all of our negotiations with our union contracts, and quite honestly, has done a very good job at doing that. Of course, that's my opinion. And this is just another piece of doing business. I fully support this.
Other discussion, gentlemen? And I need to chime in here, having been a former county employee for close to 14 years. The animosity and the distrust and the conflict involved in union negotiations when I was an employee here were, as Commissioner Jelinski would state, were second to none. I mean, the conflict, the negativity that went on. And since I have been here and prior to that with Deb here, you deal with these issues, you work together, you come up to consensus from insurance negotiations to working this through. That's so important, to have employees that are happy and don't feel like they're taken advantage of, and where there's good communication. I mean, that is so important in working in this sector. The unique part in all of this is that employees, I believe, have much more respect for us as people running a governmental body, and the cost that we save just in attorney's fees, the cost back in those days was immense. It just because it kept dragging out and dragging out and dragging out. So just good stuff. What we save just in you going to this and taking care of those issues is so important and immense. So good. I think we need to do this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
All right. That, I believe, is all I have for action items. We have our annual holiday dinner today, so thank you for supporting an organization and allowing us to do things like that, because I think staff and the ability to enjoy coming to work and to have some fun and some camaraderie along with the work that we do is important. So I appreciate you as policy leaders to allow us to do things like that. I think everybody does. So, thank you.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if I may
Commissioner
comment,
Mitchell.
coming from the private sector, I think this is a great thing too for all the people here at the county courthouse. It gets everybody together, shows it's just not business as usual. This is, it's a great thing that Deb and her staff puts together.
Yeah, the whole organization pitches in, and it's paid for by employees. It's not paid for by tax dollars. Of course, that's important in the work that we do, but I still think it's nice to be able to,
realize that we're all people too, and we wanna have a little fun
Exactly.
and whatnot in our work.
And gentlemen, I don't wear a tie, but I will wear a hat. So, we are prepared.
Wow.
Anyways, thanks Deb for all of that, and let's go together. Anything else, gentlemen? Do I have a motion?
Calendars.
Oh, schedules, calendars, sorry.
Could we do December 21st through January 8th?
Go through the 8th.
Two books.
I know, that's why I brought them both with, but January 8th.
Commissioner Johnson, since you look like you're right on the cusp of
So
wanting to
again,
get this
when are
done.
we starting again, please?
21st.
21st.
We got Public Works meeting at Public Works, 8:30 on Monday.
Yep.
We have planning on Tuesday, the 22nd.
Yep.
And then through the 8th. The 28th is planning and zoning. On the what day, did you say? The 8th?
Planning and zoning,
28th is planning and zoning. And then the 31st, we got board.
It's actually planning commission, not planning and
Yeah,
zoning.
you're right.
Yep,
Whatever.
yep, whatever.
They want to correct
And
you,
then
Mr.
to
Johnson.
to the 8th. Ooh. I might have
County
to.
board on the 31st, did you count that one, Commissioner?
County board on the 31st?
Yep, that's on, we always said
Okay.
that.
Through the 8th.
Through the 8th, I've got,
T-SWAC.
The 5th.
yeah, then we got board on the 5th. And then I've got a South Country meeting at Owatonna at 9 o'clock on Thursday, January 7th. And then the 8th, we would have T-SWAC.
Yep.
I think that's all I have right now.
Commissioner Wilson.
Well, I think the Board of Adjustments on the 5th,
Okay.
and facility meeting?
Yep, facility.
Yes, what
That
day,
afternoon.
what time?
Committee meeting, 1 o'clock here at the courthouse.
On what day?
The
On
5th.
Randy and Mike have that.
That's it.
Commissioner Winshire.
Looks like they covered them all. I just gotta double check here. Got that. I think I got that. I think, yep, we're good to go.
Commissioner Jelinski.
I think mostly everything is covered. The 21st at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I believe this is going to be at the middle school, Stand Up For You. I think it's at the middle school
5 o'clock?
at 5 o'clock. Commission, Board of Adjustments, County Board. On the 7th, I have a legislative conference call dealing with armor at 10 o'clock in the morning. On the 8th of January, and I'm sorry, I can't remember where it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got an armor rack meeting. I'll have to let you know where it's at, because I can't remember.
On the 8th, T-SWAC, is that at 8:30?
8:30, yep.
8:30, okay.
Yep.
Santa Claus.
Yes.
Do you have anything, Santa Claus?
I'm just,
Not to put you under any pressure or nothing,
no, I
but
have no pressure.
He's supposed to know everything,
that's what I'm thinking.
you know?
Ain't
Who's
getting
been
my-
naughty,
ain't-
who's
I'm
been
not-
nice, and you don't even know
I'm
your
not getting-
schedule.
I'm not getting my raise from the sun to penetrate to give me
Yeah,
some.
obviously.
Yeah, that's, you know, I brought that up yesterday. It's
Yeah.
like, give us some Sunday, please.
Anyways, I don't think I have anything else other than that.
Perfect.
You know what? I just got one last thing I'd like to bring up, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So I know Jeff can't go, but we got Community Corrections Joint Powers at
Oh,
10 tomorrow.
that's tomorrow.
Just a reminder for tomorrow.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
Are you
Where's
going?
that, where's that at?
That's a
It's at the Brainerd Police Department,
Brainerd Police Department.
right by the river. It's just west of the Land Service Building,
Brainerd Police Department.
West.
towards the river.
It's in there, I added the address.
No,
You gotta drive over there.
3 blocks probably,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
something like that, I'm just guessing.
Just past the,
Take a
Yes,
left and a
get the
right.
Land Service Building, you just go west and you'll come to it on the right side of the road.
Yep.
It's a
Just
little bit
past the
south
jail.
of Saskatoon.
It's close to the river.
It's north of Little Falls.
Is it?
somewhere. North.
I'd so move to adjourn then. if
I'll
there's-
second
I have a
that.
motion and a second.
I'll second.
Further discussion, gentlemen, on adjournment.